Mm-hmm.
It seems as though you're saying that that we label things conventionally really just to make communication easier and make it easier us to know how to utilize something and to reduce confusion.
Right. Yeah.
It seems like the purpose of it, although.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it is the purpose of language, isn't it? Mm-hmm. To be able to communicate and to use as a shorthand for something, you know, instead of saying that big tall monk, you know, well, we only have one now, but sometime we might have 2 or 5 or 10, then the big tall monk with the, and you have to describe him, you know, differently. Then you just say the person's name, okay? So language, you know, facilitates things, yeah? But the thing is, when we forget that we're the one who gave it the label, and we think instead that it has an essence that is that object, some objectifiable basis, you know, that you can find, that it's labeled on that and only that, that's when the grasping an inherent existence comes in, okay? So we can watch that in our life, you know, how we forget that we're the one who gave a label to something. There's some discussion now, I was reading, because they're redoing the, what's the name of the DFM, you know? DSM.
Diagnostic. Something manual.
Yeah. So the thing with the manual with the list of all the psychological disorders. So they're having, you know, all this discussion because they're trying to incorporate some things into one thing and then take other things and divide it in, and then new ones that you invent. And you know, the thing is that as soon as you collect in your mind together a set of symptoms and give it a label, then our mind, again, we tend to forget that we're the ones who gave it the label. It becomes very solid. And so one of the people who was saying that we need to be careful in doing this was saying, especially with children, if everything becomes a disorder, then, you know, which is like that, you know, you have a kid who speaks up for themselves and now they have defiant disorder or something, you know? It's like everything becomes a disorder. Then, you know, and especially if you're a child and you get that label, then you tend to identify with that and say, that is me. And that's completely wrong, you know? It forms a very incorrect self-image on the part of the person, you know? And the same way that we do when we kind of psychoanalyze people and give them all sorts of labels, you know? This one's, you know, bipolar, and that one, you know, is what is it? Borderline, that's it. And, you know, and this one is, you know, and it's like we give them a label and then that's all we see as being that person, you know? And it seems as if it's coming from their side, independent of us. But we're the one who gave that diagnosis, you know? And sometimes we don't even know what the conventional diagnosis qualifications are. But I don't like that person, therefore they're borderline. Yeah. Yeah, you know, because we're very used to being kind of our own amateur psychologists. Yeah?
Even though I have to say, when I was a child, we didn't have the diagnosis, but we had labels for people like crybabies and bullies. And
oh, right.
So we put them into personality disorders without even realizing that that's what we were doing.
That's a very good point, actually. You know, that when we were kids, we didn't have such an extensive thing, but there were crybabies and bullies and troublemakers and what? Accident prone, and you know, and the one who the brown nose, yeah, and Yeah, teacher's pet. And, you know, so we were giving all these kind of quote, quote, diagnoses. Let's hear from the teacher.
Well, then those people live up to that label.
Yes.
And they milk it for all it's worth.
Yep.
That's what they believe they are.
Yep.
So they will just funnel all that energy into those characteristics.
Yep, yep. Okay, so she said that, you know, then once you're given that label, then as a child you live up to it and you funnel all your energy into becoming what you think that label is because somebody gave it to you and you feel that is you, so you better fulfill it, you know? And so many kids get trapped in that way. It's really, really unfortunate. Yeah.
It's not just children that are, I was in a diversity training once where one of the exercises was.
Yeah. So I don't have to repeat everything.
So I took a diversity training once where one of the exercises was that each person was given a label just like this, like the office bully or the the office whiner, but it was put on your back, so you didn't know what your label was. But everybody in the group, and there were probably 10 or 12 in the exercise, relate to you as though you were your label. And within minutes, it was very clear what the relationships were, what the power dynamics were in relationship to people. The boss was clearly labeled the boss, and they start treating you like the boss. You know you're the boss. So, and you're also the scapegoat. And the scapegoat was one of the big ones and that person just felt like completely belittled and torn down by the end of the exercise. This went on for 15 minutes. So the role playing just was so vivid in seeing how we live up to our labels and treating each other as a label we create, the very monster that we've labeled. So it was chilling, actually, to see how we do that.
Yeah. We should do that exercise.
It would be very good.
Sometime here at the Abbey. I think those kinds of things are quite helpful. Yeah. The idea behind having a pure view is if you give people good labels, then you see them in a positive way. And when you see them and relate to them in a positive way, they have a better chance from their side of becoming like that.